Okay. Vayidaber Adonai al Moshe lemor. God spoke to Moshe saying, Shlach lecha anashim, send for yourself men, v'yasuru. Hold on one second. Hold on. Hold on, just give me 1 second. Hold on. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so it says, Shlach lecha anashim v'yasuru eretz Canaan. Send for yourselves men and search out the land of Canaan. Come on here, Levi, join us. There's a chumash right there if you want to join us. We study the chumash with the Rashi. We read every Rashi. So Eitan, this is Levi. Hey.
No, I'm still not co-host.
Yeah, so basically, I'll tell everybody the story here so that people can realize what kind of tzaddikim we have coming to our yeshiva. And by that, I mean Eitan. Eitan found the Yid lost on Friday night, and he wanted to make sure that this poor Yid was not stranded. So he walked, I'm not kidding, 2 hours out of his way to make sure that this boy was accounted for. And he asked for nothing in return. He just helped him out. And it wasn't in the middle of the day. It was late at night. Yeah. And he did this for a total stranger, just that the stranger was somebody who asked him for help, a fellow Yid. And that's what Eitan did. And he asked for no praise. He's probably embarrassed. So I'm going, we say, mixa shvachel b'fanav. We limit the praise in front of the person. But I just wanted you to know that we'll tell you the full story later, but Eitan walked this person from basically here to your house on Friday night. Yeah. It was a block away from his house. All right, so so Shlach lecha anashim, send for yourself. We're doing Parsha Shlach. Send for yourself men, the Asuru eretz Canaan, and search out the land of Canaan. Asher aninu oseim b'nei Yisrael, that I am giving to the children of Israel. Ish echad u'mateo asav tishlachu kol nasi b'hem. One man from the tribe. You shall send everyone a prince. So the first thing we notice about this pasuk is that there's 2 problems, or at least 2 difficulties. First of all, when is this story taking place? Secondly, why does it send shlach lecha, send for yourself? It's unusual that it says shlach lecha. It just say shlach anashim. So Rashi tells us a couple of things which are very important for us to take to heart. First, Rashi says, Parshas Meraglim, Parshas Miriam. Why is this passage of the Meraglim next to the passage of Miriam? The Meraglim are the way we translate Meraglim. Usually, people's place translated as spies. They have to get a chumash Rashi. Those are Gemara. There's a chumash, but it's not really logical to me to translate it as spies here, because if you wanted to, let's say, let's take a current example, go into Gaza and get intel on where the hostages are being held, Hashem Yishmor, Hashem should save us. Would you send the MKs? Would you send the members of Knesset who are always holding press conferences? Or would you send, the undercover people from Mossad, the Shin Bet, the Yamam? Who would you send? Obviously, you would send the last people in the world you would send are the MKs. They are the last people in the world you would send because they're recognizable. They are interested in doing press conferences. So clearly, you wouldn't send those people. clearly you would send the meraglim. So you would send the secret ones. But here, who are we talking about? We're talking about Ish Echad Kol Nasi Bahem. Every man is a prince. So it's interesting. There was a book a few years ago about the Mossad where they translated "Every man is a prince." You remember that book there? So they take that line from here. But these people were not undercover agents. These were the leaders of their tribes. So clearly, if you look at it like that, it's so obvious that the purpose was for Hasbara, to go there, come back, and convince everybody that this is the place we have to go in. Which is why their bad report was so devastating, because it was supposed to be a press conference to support the plan of Moshe, and instead they undercut Moshe. Because if it was Meraglim, then Moshe needs to hear the report. But it wasn't the Meraglim. It wasn't spies. It was a press. It was a press tour or whatever, a propaganda mission. So we'll go back. So why was the passage of Meraglim next to the passage of Miriam? Because she was stricken over matters of speech. Why? Shedibra ba'achia, because Miriam spoke about her brother. Rasham alo, and these wicked ones, ra'u v'lo musar. They didn't learn from that. They didn't learn that you're not supposed to speak badly about anything. Now, technically speaking, they spoke badly about the land, whereas the Miriam spoke badly about her brother. But we learn from here that we have to speak in a positive way. Speak in a positive way. And they didn't learn. And then that's the first thing to take to mind. Musar Haskel. And the second is Shlach Lecha, send for yourself. Rashi says, Lida'atcha, means to say, for your knowledge. Ani eini mitzavelcha. I'm not telling you to do this. This is not coming from me, God says. Im tirtza shalach. If you want to do this, send forth. And this is a very important, very powerful idea. Because the Israelites came and said, "Let us send men before us." And here Rashi quotes from Devarim, because the big question is, there's a contradiction between our psukim here and the psukim in Devarim. In Devarim it says, that you all came to me and said that we want spies. But here Hashem does the commandment. So which is it? So Hashem is saying, Rashi is saying, it's for yourself. Hashem never wanted it. Moshe nimlach b'shechina. Moshe consulted God, and God said, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ani amarti lahem shehi tova. I said it's good, as it says, Alas chameini mitzrayim, chayim sheni nosin lahem. I'll give them makom utos b'divrei meraglim l'manol Yeshua. God says, I'm going to give you the place to make an error. And we see from here that Hashem will give us always the opportunity to make a mistake if that's what we want. Hashem will not stop us from making our mistakes. So just because we're able to do something doesn't mean it's the right thing. Let's say, for example, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do this, but let's say you get into Harvard, and so therefore you think, okay, this is clearly God telling me to go there. But maybe you'd be better off, instead of going to Harvard, studying in a yeshiva for the next 2 years. I'm not saying that you should do that. Some people are supposed to go to Harvard, some people are supposed to study yeshiva. But just because you got into Harvard doesn't mean that that's what God's telling you to do. It could just mean that God is letting you go down the wrong path, because that's what you want. Okay, so that's the point of this Rashi, that Hashem is always going to allow us to go down the path that we want. Hashem is not going to intercede to stop that. All right, the next pasuk says, and Rashi says in the next idea, it says, "Vayishlach Osem Moshe mibar Paran al pi Hashem," and Moshe sent them from the Paran wilderness through the mouth of God. Kulam an Hashem Rashi b'nei Yisrael hema. Moshe sent them from the Paran wilderness through the mouth of Hashem. All of them were men. Rashi b'nei Yisrael hema. So Al Pi Hashem Rashi says, Bershuto, with his permission. Shlo Ikei Vayadel. Hashem did not stop Moshe from sending the spies. Kulam Anashim. Rashi says all the time, and this supports the idea that we start off with, Kol Anashim Shebemikra Lashon Chashivus. Anytime it says men in the Torah, it means that they were chashivus. There was a chashivus to them. They were distinguished. They were special. And therefore, at that moment, they were ksherim. They were honorable. And so therefore, these were distinguished men. These were men of great importance. So, and these are their names. For Reuven, Shimon ben Zakor, Shimon, Shaphat ben Chori, Yehuda, Kalev ben Yefuneh, Yisachar, Yigal ben Yosef, Ephraim, Hoshea ben Nun, Umatei ben Yamin, Palti ben Rafu, Umatei Zvulun, Gadil ben Sodi, Umatei Yosef, Umatei Menashe, Gadi ben Susi. Some point out the fact that Gadi ben Susi, that he was like a horse. Umatei Dan, Amiel ben Gamali, Umatei Asher, Sesur ben Michael, Umatei Naftali, Nachbi ben Fafsi. Okay, Eilash Anashim, these are the men that Moshe sent. Asher Shelach, Moshe Latoras Aretz to scout out the land. Vayikra Moshe ben Nun Yoshua. So Moshe called Hoshea ben Nun Yoshua, and here this Rashi takes us to a tremendous question. Rashi says his follow of Ya Yoshiacha me'atzas meraglim. He said, he prayed for him, may God save you from the plot of the spies. Now we have a big question here. I thought they were ksherim. I thought they were kosher. So why does Moshe have to daven for Yoshua? I thought all these men were good at this time. Why is he changing his name? And why is he praying to Hashem to save Joshua? At this point, they're good. Is Moshe expecting them to fail? Follow my question? How would you answer this question? He had a very special relationship with Yoshua for sure. But why was he concerned here? Yes, from the council of the spies, from the point. Yeah, so
He assumed they were going to have a bad report.
But why?
Well, maybe he traveled right to Israel and left Egypt.
No, it's not. No, first of all, it's not necessarily the case that Moshe never was in the land of Canaan. It says he will not cross over he will not cross over. But it's possible that he was there. But
you know, I mean.
But the question is, where is this concern coming from? Where is this concern coming from? Okay, so I think, well, first of all, does anybody have an answer to this? Okay, so my answer is going to, maybe you won't agree with me. This is just one answer I'm thinking. Moshe was afraid of groups. When you have groups coming together and thinking, there's a very big danger that even though as individuals, they're very good, very smart, very nice, very good people, when they come together as a group, groups are stupid. That's the idea, that individuals are smart and groups are stupid.
Groups of men do stupid things.
Just groups in general. You ever heard of the idea of the committee that was supposed to design whatever, and it designed the opposite? What's the idea? Dan probably knows. No, the groups are inherently dangerous when groups are tasked with a mission, with a vision, with a responsibility. It's very dangerous, and that's what Moshe Rabbeinu was afraid of here. Moshe Rabbeinu was afraid of this. Even though, like, the war committee in Israel was basically a group of 3 people. I mean, the war committee was right now was BB, war cabinet, BB Galant and Gans, and then they had a 4th one, BB's right hand man, Dermer, was basically yeah. So it's basically 3 people. 3 people, not everybody in the cabinet. And not everybody in the cabinet. Like the groups are, it's a very bad way to make a decision through a group. So that was the concern.
Is that just your like thought process? Is it like some like
Is there a source?
I mean, I like the answer.
Oh. So I prefaced it by saying this is something that I think.
Yeah.
So
Rabbi said
yeah.
the Torah is-
I don't know. We have to look for a source. No, that's
Because democracy is not a group.
I think it's a simplistic formulation of that, because the Torah has certain elements of it which are democratic and certain elements of it which are not democratic. So the Torah has Sanhedrin. I mean, we had it last week's parasha where you have 70 people. We have the concept of Achrei Rab and Wahatos, that you follow a majority for making judicial decisions. But at the same time, we have a king who has supreme authority. We have a Kohen Gadol. We recognize supreme authority in certain areas, and we recognize majority in other areas. So I don't know that it's simplistic. I don't know that it's a simple answer. There's certain times where you need it, and certain times where it's not appropriate. Moshe was not taking a vote before he made decisions here. But the one time he did do it was a spectacular failure. Democracy is reeling now in the world. Like the world keeps voting in anti-democratic concepts. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't really cut you off.
Oh, no problem. I'm saying who's higher? This is a little bit off topic. The king or the Kohen Gadol? Who's on a higher level? Like, who has respect to it?
Well, it's depends. They have different roles. They have different roles. There are certain things the king can do and the Kohen Gadol can't do, and there's certain things the Kohen Gadol can do and the king can't do. They have different roles. But there are, in the Gemara, there are stories where the king kills the Kohen Gadol and then installs his own when he doesn't like the Kohen Gadol. Okay, so now we could come back to that question about why he gave Joshua. So there's another answer, like why did he give him a yud? So some want to say that because it says because of the humility of Zechariah ben Avkulos that the temple was destroyed. Who was Zechariah ben Avkulos? Remember who he was? Anybody remember who Zechariah ben Avkulos? This is the Gemara and Git in 55a, where the Gemara tells that, or 55b, the Gemara tells a story about Zechariah ben Avkulos, where Parkamsa was going to destroy the Beis Hamikdash. He was trying to destroy it, and he made a blemish on an animal. And the rabbis wanted to kill Parkamsa at that point. But Zechariah ben Avkulos kept saying, "Oh, we can't do it. We can't do it." All they say. So he wasn't ready to make a bold decision. So therefore, the Talmud says, because of the humility of Zechariah ben Avkulos, he was unable to make this courageous decision. The temple was destroyed. And so therefore, here Moshe Rabbeinu was afraid that Yehoshua, who had learned from Moshe the traits of humility, would be afraid to stand up to these men, because he would be too humble to raise his voice. That's what someone has said. Okay, so now verse 17, guys. Verse 17, chapter. Oh, you got a new kippah. I like that one. Where'd you get that? Very nice. Yeah.
I think the answers go hand in hand together.
Yeah. Verse 17. Vayishlach some Moshe Asur es Eretz Canaan, and Moshe sent them to search out the land of Canaan. Vayomer alayhem, and he said to them, Ahuzeh b'Negev, go up in the mountain. Va'alisem es hahar, and go up in the Negev and go up to the mountain. Rashi says, Ahuzeh b'Negev, go up in the south. Psoleth shel Eretz Yisrael. That was the worst part. Derech HaTagarim Marmat Psoas Tchila v'Alkach Marmat Shelach. Oh, Rashi says Moshe told them to first see the worst part because that's what merchants do. First, if you have something, if you have a bad thing to show, first you show the worst, and then you save the best for last. Save the best for last. You ever hear that expression? That's the source for it. You save the best for last. Rashi, right there in the parasha.
First impressions.
You would think, but Rashi doesn't say that. Rashi says no. Oh, Deba Negev. That's what Rashi's saying. And then he says, verse 18, look at the land and see what it is. And the people who are dwelling on it, are they strong or weak? Are they weak or are they few or many? Rashi says, this is such a beautiful Rashi. Yesh Eretz Migadelat Giborim. There's a land which produces mighty people. Yesh Eretz Migadelat Chalashim. There's a land which produces weak. Yesh Migadelat Uchusin. Yesh Memetes Uchusin. There are some that produce a lot of people, and then some produce very few people. Tell us what type of land it is. Good afternoon, Michael. Yashakoach to you. Hachazaku Arafeh. Are the people strong or weak? Okay, this is something you could bring out in every political debate between now and November. When's the election? November 5th. You could bring it out. Why? How do you know if the land is strong or weak? How do you know if the land is strong or weak? Siman Masarem. Moshe gave the spies a sign to determine if the land was strong or weak. What's the sign? Im biprazim yoshvin chazakim him. If the people live in unwalled cities, it means they're strong. Im somchin al gvurasam, they rely on their strength. V'im ba'aram b'tzuros en yoshvin, but if they live in fortified cities, halashim him, they're weak. So, or wherever you build a wall, it means you're weak. Building a wall is a sign of weakness. No wall is a sign of strength. By the way, there is a major strategic difference between the Shomron, the Jewish communities of the Shomron, and the Jewish communities of Yehuda. That the Jewish communities in Judea, every yeshuv has a big wall around it. In the Shomron, they specifically say we don't put a wall because they
much better. Because if you build a wall that are strict, don't build a wall, they don't know where to stop.
Well, they say that the wall is because the wall, they think strategically, from a defensive posture, they think the wall makes you weak. It's this Rashi. They think the wall makes you weak. So that's their idea.
I mean, they're right.
I'm not a defense expert. I'm just telling you that that's a distinction. So then the verse, well, according to Rashi, verse 19 says, what about the land that he lives in? Hatovahi Amra, is the land good or bad? What about the cities that he lives in? Are they fortified or open? Rashi says, Machanim means unenclosed. Habefatzchin. Rashi says, Krachim ptuchin uptuchin. These are unopened. These are unenclosed cities without a wall. Hatovahi. Is this land good? Is the land good? Is it hatovahi? Is it good? B'mayanotu tomot tovim ubrim. Does it have springs and wells that are good and healthy? And then he says, Umaha aretz. What about the land? Hashmeinahi. Is the land fatty? Raza. Is it thin? Hayesh ba'etz emayim. Does it have a tree or not? Are there trees in the land? V'eschazaktem. You should be stronger. Kachtem mipriya aretz. Take from the fruit of the land. Vayamim yemei bikurei anavim. It was the days of the ripening of the grapes. Rashi says, when it says, "Are there tree? Is there a tree?" It should have said, "Hayesh ba'etzim." Are there trees in the plural? But it doesn't say that because what does the eitz mean? It refers to a person. Rashi says, "Im yesh b'hem adam kasher she'ageno lehem b'zchuto." Does it have a good man who will depend upon them? We're going to get to this in the Gemara in Baba Basra 15a. So tomorrow is 117 and Tuesday is 118, 119, and then 15. So 18 days from now, God willing. So Rashi's saying it's here to explain a man because we've already seen if the land was good or weak. Therefore, it's clearly meant, Rashi says, to refer to a person. And the days were the days of the Bikurei Anavim, Yamim Sha'anavim Mispashal Bikur, days in which the grapes mature in their first ripening. All right, we'll stop here. We had did the first Aliyah, and God willing, we'll have a Memcha and pick this up tomorrow. Shukayach, everyone.